Commander Felix sat in his chair on the bridge of the Coalition ship. Harmony's light. His long fingers tapped against the armrest as he reviewed the morning reports. Everything seemed normal. The patrol route was quiet, just like it had been for the past 6 months. Space was peaceful these days. The wars had ended 3 generations ago. Most species in the galaxy had learned to live together without violence. The communications officer suddenly made a sharp clicking sound. Her scales turned from blue to pale white in seconds. Felix knew that color change meant fear. He stood up quickly and walked to her station. She was staring at her screen with wide eyes, her hands shaking slightly as they moved across the controls. "Commander," she whispered. "We have an SOS signal. It's coming from Research Station Kepler." Felix felt his heart sink. Research Station Kepler was not just any outpost. It was located near a death world, one of those rare planets where everything was dangerous. The gravity was too strong. The weather was violent. The animals were predators that killed to survive. Most species in the galaxy came from gentle worlds where evolution had been kind. Death worlds were different. They created life forms that were built to fight and survive in terrible conditions. "Play the message," Felix ordered. The speakers crackled with static. Then a voice came through, broken and desperate. "This is Research Station Kepler. ... Under attack, unknown hostile forces. Crew is decimated. 17 survivors in panic room. Requesting immediate military intervention. They're cutting through the doors. ... Please ... anyone." The message ended. Silence filled the bridge. Every crew member stared at Felix, waiting for his orders. He knew what they were thinking. Research Station Kepler was 2 weeks away from the nearest Coalition military base. By the time help arrived, everyone on that station would be dead or taken. Felix pulled up the station's information on his datapad. The research team had been studying the death world below, specifically a species they called humans. These creatures were still primitive by galactic standards. They hadn't developed space travel yet. They didn't even know that aliens existed. The Coalition had strict rules about contacting such species. They were supposed to be left alone until they were ready to join the HFY galactic community. But someone had broken into the research station. Felix knew who it probably was. The Krith Dominion had been raiding isolated outposts for months. They took valuable research, and sometimes captured beings to sell on black markets. The Coalition had been trying to stop them, but space was vast, and the Krith were clever. "Sir, what do we do?" his first officer asked. Felix closed his eyes and thought hard. He could follow protocol and call for the military fleet. But those people would die waiting. He could try to mount a rescue with his own crew, but the Harmony's Light was a science vessel, not a warship. His crew were researchers and technicians, not soldiers. They had never even seen real combat. Then an idea came to him. It was crazy. It would probably get him court-martialed, but it might be the only way to save those people. "The death world below," Felix said slowly. "The humans. What do we know about them?" The science officer pulled up data on his screen. "They're remarkable survivors, Commander. The planet has shaped them into something unique. They have incredible endurance, high pain tolerance, and they've developed something we rarely see in the galaxy. They have organized warfare. They've been fighting each other for thousands of years." "Fighting each other?" the first officer asked, shocked. "Yes," the science officer continued. "Their world is so harsh that competition for resources has been constant. They've created specialized roles for combat. They have what they call soldiers, people trained specifically to fight and protect their groups." Felix felt a chill run through his body. The galaxy had moved past warfare generations ago. Most species found the very concept disturbing. When resources were plentiful and worlds were gentle, there was no need for violence. But humans had been forged in a different fire. "I have a plan," Felix announced. "It violates every first contact protocol we have. But those people on the station are going to die if we don't act now." His crew waited, silent and nervous. "We're going to land on the death world. We're going to make contact with the humans. And we're going to ask them for help." The bridge erupted in shocked voices. The first officer stepped forward. Commander, that's insane. First contact with a pre-space species is forbidden. And even if we do it, why would they help us? They don't know us. They might attack us on sight. Vilix shook his head. Look at their history. Yes, they fight each other. But they also have something called honor. When someone calls for help, when innocents are in danger, humans respond. It's documented throughout their culture. Stories of heroes who risk everything to save others. If we show them what's happening, if we explain that scientists are trapped and dying, I believe some of them will volunteer. And if they don't, the communications officer asked quietly, Dan, we tried something instead of nothing, Vilix replied. And those people die knowing someone attempted to save them, gave the order. The ship changed course, heading toward the death world below. As they descended through the atmosphere, Vilix felt the weight of his decision. He was about to introduce humans to the reality of alien life. He was about to show them that they weren't alone in the universe. And he was about to put weapons in their hands and point them at real enemies. The ship landed in a remote area, far from major population centers. Sensors had identified a facility where humans studied the stars. There was one person there alone. That was good. Starting with one human would be easier than trying to explain everything to a large group. Vilix put on his environmental suit and checked his translation device. The computer had been analyzing human languages for years as part of the research project. It should be able to communicate clearly. As he walked down the landing ramp, cold air hit him. Even through his suit, he could feel how harsh this world was. The temperature would kill most species. The gravity made each step harder than it should be. The air itself had a strange quality, rich with oxygen that made everything more intense. He saw the human standing outside the facility, staring at his ship with an expression of pure shock. She was small by human standards, with dark hair and eyes that looked both terrified and curious. Vilix raised his hand in what he hoped was a peaceful gesture. Please don't be afraid, he said, his translator converting his words into her language. My name is Envoy Tuzric. I come from the stars, and I desperately need your help. Sarah Chen had been tracking unusual readings in the night sky for 3 hours when reality broke apart in front of her. The observatory's instruments went crazy, showing energy signatures that shouldn't exist. She ran outside, her breath forming clouds in the freezing Alaska air, and watched as the darkness above her split open like a wound. Light poured out, not like anything from Earth. It was too pure, too controlled. The craft that descended was beautiful and impossible. It made no sound. It simply existed where nothing had been moments before, settling onto the snow-covered ground with perfect grace. Sarah's mind tried to rationalize what she was seeing. A military test? Some kind of drone? But deep down, she knew the truth. She had spent her entire life studying the stars, wondering if humanity was alone. Now she had her answer. The being that emerged from the craft was tall and thin, with skin that looked like it was made of crystal or glass. It moved carefully, as if Earth's gravity was too strong for its body. When it raised its hand, Sarah saw it only had 3 fingers. Her legs felt weak. This was real. This was actually happening. Please don't be afraid, the alien said, and somehow she understood the words perfectly. My name is Envoy Tuzric. I come from the stars, and I desperately need your help. Sarah's scientific training fought against her shock. She forced herself to breathe slowly. You're real, she whispered. Aliens are real, as Tuzric replied. His voice sounded sad. And I wish we could meet under better circumstances. I wish I could take months to explain everything to make this easier for you. But people are dying, and we have no time. He moved his hand and light appeared in the air between them. Sarah recognized it as a hologram, but the technology was far beyond anything humans had created. The image showed a space station, sleek and advanced. Then it showed armored figures cutting through metal doors with energy weapons. Inside, people huddled together in fear. They looked almost human, but their skin had different colors, their bodies had different shapes. This is Research Station Kepler, Tuzric explained. It orbits your world. For 10 years, Scientists from many species have been studying Earth from there. They watch, they learn, but they never interfere. It's the law. We don't contact species that haven't developed space travel yet. Sarah's mind reeled. You've been watching us? For 10 years? For much longer, actually, Tazric admitted. But this station has been here for 10 years. And now it's under attack. Pirates, we think. Or maybe the Krith Dominion, a hostile group that steals research and sells captives. 17 researchers are trapped. They're not soldiers. They're scientists, like you. They can't fight. They don't know how. The hologram changed, showing one face in particular. Sarah gasped. That's Ravi, Dr. Ravi Patel. He told everyone he was taking a sabbatical in India. He's been up there, studying us. He was studying human culture, Tazric said quietly. He thought your species was fascinating. He wanted to understand your art, your music, your philosophy. Now he's going to die unless someone helps him. Sarah felt anger and confusion and fear all mixing together in her chest, but she also felt something else. Ravi was her friend. She had worked with him for 5 years. They had shared countless late nights at the observatory, discussing theories and dreaming about the stars. Why are you telling me this? Sarah asked. What can I do? Tazric's crystal-like face somehow showed sadness. Our military fleet is 2 weeks away. The attackers will break through in hours, maybe less. My ship has no weapons. My crew are researchers. We can't fight. He paused. But humans can. Sarah didn't understand at first. Then slowly, terribly, the meaning became clear. You want us to fight for you? I need soldiers, Tazric said. The galaxy has been at peace for generations. Most species evolved on gentle worlds. We have police, but not warriors. We don't train for combat like you do. But humans, your world made you different. You have armies. You have special forces. You have people who train their entire lives to fight and protect others. We fight each other, Sarah said, her voice shaking. We have wars. We kill our own kind over resources and beliefs and stupid reasons. You want to bring that violence to the stars? I want to save 17 innocent people, Tazric replied. And yes, I'm asking you to use violence to do it. I know what I'm asking. I know it violates every rule my civilization holds sacred. But those researchers are counting down their final hours, and humans are the only ones close enough to help. Sarah stood in the snow, the cold biting through her clothes, staring at this impossible alien. Everything she thought she knew about the universe had changed in minutes. Even if I wanted to help, I'm a scientist, not a soldier. I wouldn't know where to begin. You know people, though, Tazric said. You have connections. There's a military base 300 miles from here. I've studied your communication systems. You could make calls. You could explain the situation to the right people. It was insane. It was impossible. But Sarah found herself nodding. Give me 2 hours. The phone calls she made over the next hours were the strangest of her life. Most people hung up on her, thinking she was crazy. But she had worked with military consultants before on satellite projects. She had contacts. And when she sent them the video footage that Tazric provided, the footage that no human technology could fake, people started listening. 6 hours later, a group began arriving at the observatory. They came quietly in unmarked vehicles. 8 Special Forces operators, their faces hard and professional. 2 Marines who looked too young for what they'd probably seen. And 1 older man with a British accent who introduced himself as Captain Marcus Webb. Tired sass, Sarah showed them the hologram. She explained everything Tazric had told her. She watched their faces as they processed the reality of alien life, of a galactic civilization, of humans being asked to fight in space. This could be a trap, one of the Marines said. How do we know any of this is real? You don't, Tazric admitted, appearing from his ship. The soldiers immediately reached for weapons, then forced themselves to relax. But I can show you more proof. I can take one of you up to orbit in my ship. You can see the station through our sensors. You can see it's real. Captain Webb stepped forward. He was older than the others, maybe in his 50s, with gray hair and scars on his hands. "I'll go." They watched as Webb and Tazric boarded the alien craft. It rose silently into the night sky and disappeared. For 30 minutes, the remaining soldiers waited, weapons ready, unsure if their captain would return. Sarah made coffee that no one drank. Everyone was too tense. When the ship returned, Webb's face was pale but determined. "It's real," he said simply. "All of it. There's a station up there. I saw the attackers on sensors. I saw the research team hiding." He looked at his men. "They're going to die if we don't help, and we help," one of the operators said. The others nodded. Tacit relief was visible. "Thank you. I can't promise you'll survive. I can't promise any of this will work. But you're giving them a chance." "That's what we do," Webb said. "Now tell us everything about that station. Layout, enemy numbers, weapons, everything." "We have a rescue to plan." As they filed into the observatory to strategize, Sarah watched them go. These men had volunteered to risk their lives for people they'd never met. On a space station orbiting their planet, fighting enemies from another world, it was the most human thing she could imagine. The shuttle ride to the station was rough. The human soldiers sat strapped into seats designed for alien bodies, their weapons held tight across their chests. Tazric's crew watched them with a mixture of fear and fascination. These Deathworlders looked calm, almost relaxed, even though they were heading into a combat situation that could kill them all. "Captain." Webb reviewed the station layout on a holographic display. The attacking force had breached the outer hull and taken control of 3 decks. The research team was locked in a panic room on the 4th deck. The enemy had been cutting through the door for 2 hours. They would break through soon. "How many hostiles?" Webb asked. "Sensors show 27. Tazric replied. "They're Krith, reptilian species. Strong, fast, equipped with energy weapons. Their weapons can stun or kill, depending on the setting. And they've never fought humans before," Sergeant Anna Rodriguez said. She was the smallest of the human team, but Tazric had watched her during training. She moved like a predator, efficient and deadly. "Yes. They've never fought anyone like you," Tazric admitted. "Most galactic species don't do combat. We have security forces, but they're trained to restrain, not to kill. The Krith are criminals, but even they fight differently than you do. They rely on superior weapons and numbers." "Then they're in for a surprise," Webb said quietly. The shuttle shuddered as it approached the station's compromised docking bay. Alarms blared inside. The Krith had damaged the docking systems. The shuttle had to force its way in, scraping against twisted metal. When the door opened, the human team moved out in perfect formation. The docking bay was a mess. Bodies lay scattered on the floor, not dead but stunned. Coalition crew members who had tried to resist and been put down by Krith weapons. The air smelled like burnt metal and something else, something organic and wrong. Webb made a hand signal. The team split into 2 groups. Rodriguez led her group left. Webb took his right. They moved with a speed that shocked Tazric. He had seen Coalition security forces train, and they were nothing like this. These humans flowed through the destroyed bay like water, checking corners, covering angles, communicating with tiny gestures. The first contact came quickly. 3 Krith soldiers rounded a corner, their weapons raised. They saw the humans and hesitated for just a second, confused by these strange beings. That second cost them everything. Rodriguez moved first. She crossed the distance between them faster than Tazric thought possible. Her weapon fired 3 times, precise shots that dropped all 3 Krith before they could react. The sound echoed through the corridor, harsh and final. "Corridor secure," Rodriguez said into her radio. Her voice was calm, like she had just completed a routine task. Webb's team pushed deeper into the station. They encountered 5 more Krith in a storage bay. These ones fired first, their energy weapons lighting up the dark space with blue flashes. 2 of the energy bolts hit Corporal James Chen square in the chest. He stumbled, his body convulsing from the stun effect. But he didn't go down. He shook his head, his teeth gritted, and kept moving forward while firing his weapon. The Krith who shot him made a sound of pure terror and tried to run. Tazric watched through the security cameras, his hands shaking. The stun weapons were designed to shut down nervous systems instantly. They worked on every species in the galaxy. But humans just pushed through the pain. Their determination, their sheer willpower, allowed them to function even when they should have been unconscious. The Krith forces began to panic. Their advantage in numbers and weapons meant nothing against enemies who wouldn't stop. The humans moved through the station like a force of nature. When doors were locked, they broke them down. When they ran out of ammunition, they used their knives. One soldier, Private Marcus Lee, got into hand-to-hand combat with a Krith who was twice his size. The fight lasted seconds. The Krith went down hard. Tazric heard the enemy communications through the ship's systems. The Krith commander was shouting orders, his voice high with fear. Fall back. Fall back to the panic room. These creatures are not normal. They don't feel pain. They don't stop. What kind of world makes such beings? Another Krith voice asked. They're wounded, and they still advance. This is not natural. Rodriguez's team reached the third deck where the heaviest concentration of Krith forces waited. They had set up a defensive position, using overturned tables and equipment as barriers. Energy weapons pointed down the corridor, ready to cut down anyone who tried to push through. We need a way around, one of the soldiers said. Rodriguez studied the layout on her arm display. Then she looked up at the ceiling. There, she said. Maintenance shaft. Runs parallel to this corridor and comes out behind their position. That shaft is too narrow, Tazric said over the radio. A normal person couldn't fit through it. Rodriguez smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. Good thing we're not normal. She and two others climbed into the maintenance shaft. Tazric watched through cameras as they crawled through a space barely wider than their shoulders. Pulling themselves forward with their arms, their equipment scraped against the metal walls. It looked painful and exhausting, but they kept moving. They emerged behind the Krith position, exactly as planned. The enemy never saw them coming. In the chaos that followed, Webb's team pushed from the front while Rodriguez hit from behind. The Krith defensive position collapsed in minutes. The path to the panic room was clear. But the Krith commander and 6 of his soldiers had reached the door first. They had cutting tools that glowed white-hot, carving through the reinforced metal. Inside, Tazric could see the research team huddled together, holding each other in fear. Dr. Patel was there. His face pressed against the door's window. Watching his death approach? 30 seconds, Webb said. That's how long before they break through. Then we run, Rodriguez replied. The human team sprinted down the final corridor. The Krith commander heard them coming and turned, his weapon raised. He fired wildly, filling the air with energy bolts. To hit Webb in the shoulder and leg? The captain went down hard, but the rest of the team didn't stop. They poured into the space in front of the panic room like an avalanche. The Krith commander tried to take hostages, tried to use the research team as shields, but there was no time. His cutting tool had breached the door. He reached for the handle. Rodriguez tackled him. They went down together, rolling across the floor. The Krith was stronger, but Rodriguez fought like something wild. She got her arm around his throat and didn't let go, even when he clawed at her, even when his tail whipped around and broke 2 of her ribs. The other Krith fell quickly. When the last one dropped, silence filled the corridor. The cutting tool fell from the Krith commander's hand as Rodriguez finally choked him unconscious. The panic room door opened. 17 researchers stumbled out. Crying and laughing and holding each other, Dr. Patel saw the human soldiers in his face, showed confusion and wonder and relief all at once. You brought humans? He said to Tazric, who had finally reached the deck. You actually brought humans into space? Webb, being helped up by 2 of his soldiers despite his injuries, nodded at the research team. You're safe now, he said simply. Let's get you all out of here. As they moved back toward the shuttle, Tazric watched the human team. They were wounded, exhausted, covered in burns and bruises, but they moved with pride, with the satisfaction of a job completed. They had fought against superior numbers, against alien weapons and enemies they had never encountered before, and they had won. Because that was what Deathworlders did. They survived. They adapted. They overcame. The Coalition Command Station was the largest artificial structure Captain Marcus Webb had ever seen. It hung in space like a small moon, home to thousands of beings from hundreds of different species. As his shuttle approached, he tried to process everything that had happened in the past week. The rescue had been successful. All 17 researchers survived. The human team had suffered injuries, but no deaths. They had been taken to a Coalition medical facility where alien doctors worked on them with technology that seemed like magic. Burns healed in hours. Broken bones knitted themselves together in days. Webb's shoulder, which should have needed surgery and months of recovery, was functional again after 3 days, but the real complications had started after the rescue. Commander Velix had been arrested the moment his ship docked at a Coalition station. Making first contact with a pre-space species was against the law. Bringing humans into combat was even worse. The Coalition's leadership was in chaos, unsure how to handle the situation. Now, Webb and his team sat in a waiting room designed for beings much different than humans. The chairs were the wrong shape. The gravity felt slightly too light. Dr. Sarah Chen sat beside Webb, looking uncomfortable in formal clothes. She had been brought along as Earth's only civilian representative. "Do you think they'll try to make us forget?" asked Sergeant Rodriguez. Her ribs were healed, but she still moved carefully, as if expecting pain. "They can try," Webb replied. "But I don't think we'd let them." The door opened that Webb hadn't noticed before. It had been part of the wall until it simply wasn't. A being that looked like it was made of living light floated through. "The Council will see you now," it said in perfect English. The council chamber was enormous. 3 beings sat on elevated platforms, their bodies so different from each other that Webb wondered how they even communicated. One was gaseous, floating in a containment field. Another was crystalline, like Tazrik, but much larger. The third looked almost like an insect, with multiple arms and eyes that moved independently. "Captain Marcus Webb," the crystalline one said. Its voice was formal and cold. "You and your team have created a significant problem for the Coalition." Webb stood straight, his military training keeping him calm. "We saved 17 lives. You violated first contact protocols, the insect-like being clicked. You exposed your species to galactic civilization before they were ready. You participated in military action on behalf of a foreign power. The diplomatic consequences are severe." "With respect," Webb said, "we were asked to help. People were dying. We did what humans do. We responded to a call for help." The gaseous being swirled in its container. "That is precisely what concerns us. Humanity is not ready for galactic contact. Your species is still fragmented, still violent. You fight each other over resources and beliefs. You have weapons designed to kill in the most efficient ways possible. And now you know you're not alone. You know there are other worlds, other resources, other species out there. You're afraid of us," Sarah said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at her. She stood up, her scientist's mind putting pieces together. "That's what this is really about. You saw what our soldiers could do. You realized we're better at combat than your species are." The council members didn't respond immediately. The silence itself was an answer. "We are not afraid," the crystalline being finally said. "We are concerned. The galaxy has been at peace for generations. War is something from our distant past. Most species can barely comprehend organized violence. But humans, you excel at it. Your world shaped you into something dangerous." "Dangerous to who?" Webb asked. "We didn't start this fight. We didn't attack that station. We defended it." "Today you defended," the insect being said. "But what about tomorrow? What happens when humanity learns to build ships like ours? When you have access to technology that can destroy planets? Your history is filled with wars and conquests. How do we know you won't bring that violence to the stars?" Webb felt anger rising in his chest, but forced it down. "You're judging us without knowing us. Yes, we have wars. Yes, we fight. But we also have honor. We have compassion. We have the ability to change and grow. You can't look at the worst parts of our history and assume that's all we are." Sarah stepped forward. If I may, she said, you've been watching Earth for years. Your researchers like Dr. Patel have studied our culture. You must know we're more than just warriors. We create art. We write poetry. We build societies based on justice and cooperation. We're complex, just like any species. That complexity is exactly what concerns us, the gaseous being said. You have the capacity for great good and great evil. That makes you unpredictable. The door opened again, and Commander Velix entered, escorted by 2 security officers. He looked tired but determined. Council members, he said, I request permission to speak. You are here to face charges, the crystalline being said. You violated our most sacred laws. I did, Velix agreed. And I would do it again. Those researchers were my responsibility. When they called for help, I had to answer. The military fleet was too far away. My crew couldn't fight. The humans were the only option. Could have let them die, the insect being said quietly. No, Velix replied firmly. I couldn't. It's not who we are. That's not what the Coalition stands for. We protect the innocent. We save lives. If following the law means abandoning people to die, then the law is wrong. Council members conferred among themselves in a language Webb couldn't understand. Minutes passed. Finally, the crystalline being spoke again. We have a proposal. Humanity is not ready for full membership in the Coalition. Your world is too divided, your people too young, but we cannot ignore what has happened. The contact has been made. It cannot be unmade. What are you suggesting? Sarah asked. A limited contact protocol, the gaseous being explained. Most of humanity will remain unaware of our existence for now. But a small group, volunteers from your military forces, will work with us. They will serve as liaisons. They will help us understand your species better, and they will be available for situations where their unique skills are needed. You want us to be your soldiers? Webb said flatly. We want you to be our partners, the crystalline being corrected. Yes, there may be combat situations where human skills are valuable, but there will also be diplomatic missions, research projects, cultural exchanges. You will help bridge the gap between humanity and the galaxy. Rodriguez leaned close to Webb and whispered, It's a setup. They're grooming us to be their attack dogs. Webb knew she was probably right, but he also saw the opportunity. What about Commander Velix? He asked, What happens to him? His actions saved lives, the insect being said. The charges will be reduced. He will face consequences, but not imprisonment. And Dr. Patel? The other researchers? They will continue their work, studying Earth from a distance. But now they will have human consultants to provide direct insight into your culture. Sarah looked at Webb. What do you think? Webb considered carefully. This wasn't a perfect solution. The Coalition was clearly trying to control how humanity entered galactic civilization. They wanted humans available when they needed fighters, but kept isolated otherwise. It was manipulative and cautious, and probably smart from their perspective, but it was also a chance. A chance for humans to learn about the galaxy. A chance to prove they were more than just warriors. A chance to shape how first contact eventually happened with the rest of humanity. I have conditions, Webb said. The council waited. First, we choose who volunteers. No one is forced. Second, we maintain contact with Earth. We're not cutting ties with our home. Third, transparency. We get access to information about the Coalition, about galactic politics, about what we're really getting into. No secrets. Those terms are acceptable, the crystalline being said after a pause. Do you accept our proposal? Webb looked at his team. Rodriguez nodded slowly. The others did the same. He looked at Sarah, who smiled nervously. We accept, Webb said. Humanity's first interstellar unit, reporting for duty. Then it is decided, the gaseous being announced. A new facility will be constructed on Earth, hidden from the general population. It will be called Firebase Olympus. From there, the Terran Auxiliary Corps will operate. As they left the council chamber, Velix caught up with Webb. Thank you, the alien said. You didn't have to speak on my behalf. You saved our world from remaining ignorant, Webb replied. You showed us the stars. That's worth defending. Outside, through the massive windows of the command station, Earth hung in space. Small and blue and beautiful. Webb stared at his home planet, knowing that everything had changed. Humanity had taken its first real step into the galaxy, and there was no going back. 2 years had passed since the rescue at Research Station Kepler. Captain Marcus Webb stood in the observation deck of Coalition Command Station, watching Earth rotate slowly below. From up here, his home world looked peaceful. The oceans were blue, the clouds white, the continents green and brown. No one looking at it would guess the changes happening in its shadows. Firebase Olympus had been built in the Arctic, hidden beneath ice and rock and advanced cloaking technology. To the outside world, it was a research station studying climate change. In reality, it was humanity's secret gateway to the stars. 300 human operators had been trained there over the past 2 years. Special forces from every major military on Earth, all carefully selected and sworn to secrecy. Webb thought about those early days often. The first recruits had been skeptical, thinking it was some elaborate military exercise. Then they saw the alien trainers. They saw the coalition ships. They learned about the galaxy and their place in it. Some couldn't handle the truth and had to be reassigned with their memories carefully adjusted, but most stayed. Most wanted to be part of something bigger than themselves. "You look thoughtful," said a voice behind him. Webb turned to see Dr. Sarah Chen approaching. She had changed in 2 years. She was no longer the shocked scientist who had first met Tuzrick. Now she was the civilian director of the Terran Liaison Program. The bridge between Firebase Olympus and Earth's governments. "Just remembering how this all started," Webb replied. "One distress call. One decision by Commander Velix to break the rules. One decision that changed everything," Sarah agreed. She joined him at the window. "Have you seen the latest reports from Earth?" Webb nodded grimly. "Government agencies are starting to notice. Too many high-level military personnel taking classified assignments in the Arctic. Too many unexplained phenomena in orbit. The conspiracy theories are getting closer to the truth." "The Council has decided," Sarah said quietly. "Full disclosure to Earth's governments. Within 5 years, they're going to tell the world that aliens exist." Webb felt a chill run through him. 5 years. That's soon. Is humanity ready? Is anyone ever ready for something like this? Sarah asked. "But the Council believes it's necessary. Humanity can't stay in the dark forever. And the longer we wait, the worse the backlash will be when the truth comes out." A hologram flickered to life beside them. It was Sergeant Anna Rodriguez calling from a coalition ship near the frontier. "Captain Webb, we've got another mission. Colony world called Persith. They've got a situation with predatory wildlife that broke containment from a research facility. Local security can't handle it. They're requesting human assistance." Webb smiled slightly. "Predatory wildlife. Of course they need humans for that. What's the native species like?" "Gentle grazers," Rodriguez said with amusement in her voice. "They've never dealt with apex predators before. The escaped animals are tearing through their settlements. We're talking about creatures similar to Earth's big cats. The locals are terrified." "Send me the details," Webb said. "I'll authorize the deployment." After the call ended, Sarah shook her head. 17 missions in 2 years? Every single one has added to humanity's reputation. Webb pulled up the mission log on his datapad. He read through the list. Hostage rescue on a mining station. Anti-piracy operations near trade routes. Containment of dangerous fauna. Extraction of researchers from unstable regions. Security detail for diplomatic negotiations. Each mission had been successful. Each one had shown what humans could do. "The whispers are everywhere now," Sarah continued. "They call us the Deathworlders. There are entire forums on the Galactic Network dedicated to discussing human capabilities. Some species are fascinated. Others are terrified. Some want to test us," Webb added. He had seen the intelligence reports. Certain militant groups in the galaxy were watching humanity with interest. Some wanted to recruit humans as mercenaries. Others saw humanity as a potential threat that needed to be eliminated before it became too powerful. There's something else, Sarah said hesitantly. A black market has emerged. Recordings of human combat operations are being sold and traded across the galaxy. Military tacticians from 100 different species are studying how we fight. Webb felt a mix of pride and concern. We're becoming the galaxy's warriors. That's exactly what the Council wanted, isn't it? Keep humans available for the dirty work, but isolated from real power. Is that what you think is happening? I think it's more complicated than that, Webb admitted. Yes, the Coalition is using us. But we're also learning from them. Our people are training in zero-gravity combat. We're learning alien languages and cultures. We're gaining access to technology that's centuries ahead of Earth's. When disclosure finally happens, humanity won't be entering the galactic stage blind and naive. We'll be ready. Dr. Ravi Patel entered the observation deck, his arms full of data pads. He had stayed on as a researcher after the rescue, working to help humans understand galactic society. Captain Webb, Dr. Chen, you need to see this? It's a report from the Frontier Monitoring Station. He activated a hologram showing a region of space on the edge of Coalition territory. This is the Krith Dominion's core region. Intelligence suggests they're planning something big. Raids on Coalition outposts have increased by 40% in the last 6 months. They're testing our defenses. The same Krith who attacked Research Station Kepler? Sarah asked. Yes, Patel confirmed. And there's more. Intercepted communications suggest they're interested in Earth. They know about humans now. They know what happened at Kepler. Some of their leadership sees humanity as a potential weapon to acquire. Others see us as a threat to eliminate. Webb studied the data carefully. How long before they make a move? Unknown. Could be months. Could be years. But they're coming. After Patel left, Webb and Sarah stood in silence for a long time. The weight of what they were discussing hung heavy in the air. We're changing things just by existing, Sarah finally said. The galaxy has been at peace for so long, but now we're here. Warriors from a death world, our very presence is shifting the balance. Maybe that's what the galaxy needs, Webb replied. The Coalition has grown comfortable in its peace. They've forgotten that there are still threats out there, still species like the Krith who don't care about laws and treaties. Someone has to be ready to stand against those threats, and you think that should be us? Humanity's role in the galaxy is to be its defenders? Webb turned to face her. I think humanity's role is whatever we make it. Yes, we're good at combat. Yes, we come from a harsh world that made us tough and adaptable. But we're also explorers, scientists, artists, dreamers. We're everything the galaxy is, and more. The question isn't what role they give us. It's what role we choose for ourselves. A priority alert flashed on Webb's communicator. He read it, and his expression hardened. There's been an incident. A Coalition survey team encountered a hostile species in uncharted space. They're under attack. Firebase Olympus is deploying a rapid response team. How long until they reach the survey team? For hours. If they're still alive by then. Sarah looked out at Earth, so peaceful and unaware. For hours. And somewhere out there, humans are going to fight and maybe die, defending aliens that most of humanity doesn't even know exist. That's the reality we live in now, Webb said. The secret we carry. One day everyone down there will know the truth. They'll know that their soldiers have been fighting in space, protecting galactic citizens, earning humanity's place among the stars. Until then, we do our duty quietly. He left the observation deck, heading to the command center to monitor the mission. Sarah stayed behind, watching Earth turn. She thought about Tazrik's desperate gamble 2 years ago. One distress call. One decision to ask Deathworlders for help. That moment had changed everything. It had revealed humanity to the galaxy, and the galaxy to humanity. It had shown that humans were more than just inhabitants of a backwater planet. They were survivors, fighters, protectors. They were capable of incredible courage and sacrifice. But it had also revealed the galaxy's fear. Fear of what humans could become. Fear of bringing violence back into a civilization that had moved past it. That fear was both humanity's greatest obstacle and its greatest protection. As long as the galaxy feared humans, they would be left alone. But that fear could also turn into hostility. The future was uncertain. In 5 years, Earth would learn the truth. Humanity would officially join the galactic community. What would happen then? Would they be welcomed or shunned? Would they rise to become leaders among the stars, or be marginalized as the galaxy's enforcers? Sarah didn't know. But she knew that humans would face it the way they faced everything. With determination, adaptability, the stubborn refusal to give up that came from surviving on a death world. Far below, Earth continued its ancient rotation. On its surface, billions of people lived their lives unaware of the drama unfolding above them. Unaware that their species had already claimed a place among the stars. Unaware that when they looked up at the night sky, some of the lights they saw were human ships. Carrying human soldiers to protect a galaxy that wasn't quite sure what to do with them, the Deathworlders had arrived. And the galaxy, ready or not, would have to make room for them. One distress call had started it all. One SOS that brought humanity to the battlefield. Now, 2 years later, that call was still echoing across the stars. It had become humanity's introduction to the cosmos. Not as seekers of peace or wisdom, but as what Earth had made them to be. Survivors, warriors, heroes. The future would bring challenges. The Krith would come eventually. Other threats would emerge. The revelation of alien life would shake Earth to its core. But humanity had faced extinction events, ice ages, plagues, and wars for thousands of years. They had always survived, and now they had the stars to survive in.